Secrets of World War II battlefields. What they never told you. When you picture World War II, what do you see? Probably grainy black and white footage of soldiers storming the beaches of Normandy, lines of tanks churning up European fields, skies full of dogfighting planes. These are the iconic images of the war. A story of brute force, industrial might, and unbelievable heroism on the front lines. But that's not the whole story. Not even close. Away from the front lines, a secret war was being fought in the shadows. This wasn't a war of bullets and bombs, but one of whispers, illusions, and incredibly audacious lies. It was a conflict where victory didn't depend on the size of your army, but on the cleverness of your deception. Some of the most important battles were won by soldiers who weren't even there, thanks to phantom armies that existed only in the enemy's mind. What if I told you that some of the war's most critical moments were engineered by artists, actors, and sound guys? That entire German armies were sent on a wild goose chase by a handful of men with inflatable rubber tanks? Or that the course of the war was changed forever by a corpse dressed up as a British officer, carrying a briefcase full of fake secrets? For decades, the full details of these stories remained classified, locked away from the public. Well, today, we're opening the files. These are the secrets of the World War II battlefields they never told you. Section 1. The Ghost Army, Masters of Illusion. In 1944, as the Allies geared up for the final push into Germany, a top-secret unit was activated in the US Army. Officially, they were the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, but everyone else knew them by a much cooler name, the Ghost Army. This was a bizarre and brilliant unit of just 1,100 men whose main weapons were their imaginations. Its ranks weren't filled with grizzled soldiers, but with artists, architects, ad men, sound technicians, and actors, many recruited straight out of art schools in New York and Philadelphia. This creative bunch included guys who would later become famous, like fashion designer Bill Blass and artist Ellsworth Kelly. Their mission was simple, but insanely dangerous: impersonate other, much bigger US Army units to fool the Germans. They operated just a few hundred yards from the front lines, their job being to make a whole lot of noise and create the illusion of a massive military force where there was next to nothing. They were basically a traveling roadshow of deception, and the German army was their target audience. To pull this off, the Ghost Army used tricks that felt more at home on a Hollywood set. The artists of the 603rd Camouflage Engineering Battalion could create the look of an entire armored division using hundreds of inflatable rubber tanks, jeeps, and cannons. Weighing less than 100 pounds each, these decoys could be inflated in minutes. From the air or a distance, they were indistinguishable from the real deal, right down to the fake tire tracks they'd make in the dirt. But the illusion wasn't just visual. Another part of the unit would blast pre-recorded sounds of troop movements and tank columns through powerful speakers, sounds that could be heard from as far as 15 miles away. They'd record a real unit digging trenches, then play it on a loop near the front to convince German intelligence a big attack was coming. At the same time, radio specialists created spoof radio, mimicking the chatter of a real division's command network by sending fake, coded messages. To complete the act, soldiers would stitch on the divisional patches of the unit they were impersonating, drive to nearby towns, and spread gossip in local bars for enemy spies to overhear. Their masterpiece was Operation Viersen in March 1945. The US Ninth Army had to cross the Rhine River, a huge strategic goal. The Ghost Army's job was to fool the Germans into thinking the crossing would happen 10 miles south of the real spot. For days, the 1,100 men pretended to be two entire divisions, a force of over 30,000. They set up more than 600 dummy vehicles, played the sounds of bridge construction all night, and generated a massive amount of fake radio traffic. The trick worked perfectly. The Germans moved their forces to the Phantom invasion site, allowing the real Ninth Army to cross the Rhine with minimal resistance. In total, the Ghost Army pulled off 22 deceptions, saving what some historians estimate to be between 15,000 and 30,000 American lives. Section 2. Operation Fortitude and the Phantom Army of General Patton. While the Ghost Army was running tactical cons, an even bigger deception was playing out, one that would decide the fate of D-Day itself. It was called Operation Fortitude, and the goal was to convince the Germans that the Allied invasion of France would happen at Pas de Calais, the shortest route across the English Channel, instead of Normandy. To sell this epic lie, the Allies invented an entire army group from thin air, the First U.S. Army Group, or FUSAG. This phantom force was supposedly massing in southeastern England, ready to lead the charge. It had its own insignia, its own battle plans, and best of all, a famously aggressive commander the Germans feared, General George S. Patton. Patton was deliberately put in charge of this ghost army and made very public appearances across the region, happily confirming German suspicions. A whole fake world of infrastructure dummy landing craft, airfields, and supply depots was built just to be seen by German spy planes. But the real star of this show was a man the British codenamed Garbo. His name was Juan Pujol Garcia, a Spanish citizen who hated fascists and communists equally and decided to help the Allies. After being rejected by British intelligence, he got himself hired by the Germans as an agent and started sending them reports from Lisbon. The twist? He'd never even been to Britain. He was inventing an entire spy network based on a tourist guide, train schedules, and newsreels. His fake intel was so good that when the British intercepted it, they realized his genius and immediately brought him on board. As the double agent Garbo, Pujol's fictional spy ring grew to 27 imaginary agents. Through this network, the Allies fed the Germans a constant diet of intelligence that confirmed Patton's Phantom Army was real, and the main attack was aimed at Calais. On D-Day, the 6th of June 1944, the deception paid off. As Allied troops hit the beaches of Normandy, Garbo sent his most important message yet. He told his German handlers that the Normandy landings were just a diversion to draw their forces away. The Times' real-time attack, he insisted, was still coming at Pas de Calais. The Germans bought it, hook, line, and sinker. Hitler himself refused to release key panzer divisions to Normandy, holding them back for the real invasion. This delay gave the Allies the crucial time they needed to secure a foothold in France. For his work, Juan Pujol Garcia received the Iron Cross from the Germans, who never found out he'd betrayed them, and an MBE from the British. Section 3. The Man Who Never Was. Of all the secret plots, perhaps none was as grimly brilliant as Operation Mincemeat. In 1943, the Allies wanted to invade Sicily, but it was the most obvious target. They had to trick the Axis into defending Greece and Sardinia instead. The plan, cooked up by British intelligence officers Ewan Montague and Charles Cholmondeley, was as dark as it was daring and had all the hallmarks of a future James Bond creator, Ian Fleming, who was involved in its early conception. The idea was this: get a dead body, create a fake identity for it as a British officer, and plant phony secret documents on it. Then, drop the body off the coast of Spain, a supposedly neutral country known to pass information to the Germans. They obtained the body of Glindrau Michael, a homeless man who had died from ingesting rat poison. He was given a new life in death. Captain, acting Major, William Martin of the Royal Marines. They built an entire persona for him, stuffing his pockets with things like ticket stubs from a London show, a lover's photo, and even an angry letter from his father. The crown jewel was in a briefcase chained to his wrist. Fake official letters between two British generals, hinting that the Allies would invade Greece and Sardinia, and that Sicily was just a diversion. In April 1943, a submarine gently released Major Martin's body into the sea off the coast of Spain. As hoped, it was found by a fisherman. Spanish officials, despite British diplomatic pressure, made sure German intelligence got a look at the documents. The fakes were copied and sent straight to Berlin. The bait worked. Hitler issued a directive stating that measures regarding Sardinia and the Peloponnese take precedence over everything else, influencing the diversion of German troops and torpedo boats. When the Allies invaded Sicily on July 9th, 1943, the resistance was surprisingly light. The island was captured much faster and with fewer casualties than expected, thanks in part to the man who never was. Section 4. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Not all secret operations were about illusion. Some were about getting your hands dirty. That was the job of the Special Operations Executive, or SOE. Formed in 1940 by Winston Churchill, with the explicit order to set Europe ablaze, the SOE was Britain's school for spies, saboteurs, and assassins. Known informally as the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, its entire purpose was to cause chaos behind enemy lines. SOE agents were men and women from all walks of life, trained in everything from unarmed combat to silent killing. One of their greatest hits was Operation Gunnerside in 1943, the sabotage of a heavy water plant in Norway. This plant was essential to Germany's program to build an atomic bomb. A team of Norwegian commandos, trained by the SOE, parachuted into the frozen wilderness, snuck into the heavily guarded facility, and destroyed the production equipment, all without firing a single shot. The mission is considered one of the most successful acts of sabotage of the war. significantly delaying the Nazi nuclear program. Another stunning SOE mission was the kidnapping of a German general on the occupied island of Crete. In 1944, agents Patrick Lee Firma and Billy Moss, along with local resistance fighters, abducted General Heinrich Kreipe. They then drove him through 22 German checkpoints in his own car, before trekking across the mountains and smuggling him to Egypt by boat. It was a wild stunt, designed to terrorize the occupiers and prove that they were never truly safe. From putting itching powder in German U-boat uniforms to blowing up critical railways, the agents of the SOE sowed fear across Europe, forcing the Axis to waste troops on security who were desperately needed on the front. Conclusion: the Ghost Army, Operation Fortitude, the man who never was, the saboteurs of the SOE. These are just a few of the secret histories that ran alongside the official story of World War II. They paint a picture of a totally different kind of war, one where imagination, audacity, and a well-told lie could be more powerful than a panzer division. These operations prove that wars are won not just with steel, but with unconventional thinking. The men and women who fought in the shadows were some of the war's most vital and unsung heroes. Their stories, hidden for decades, remind us that history is always more complex and, frankly, more interesting than it first seems. On the battlefields of World War II, the most powerful weapon was often deception itself. If you found these hidden histories as fascinating as we do, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories they never told you. And let us know in the comments, what's the most mind-blowing secret operation you've ever heard of? Thanks for watching.